We have the ability to impact what happens in our life. If you don't have the answers, you're going to ask the questions. You're going to change and grow and create and do things that you never thought possible. This is not what I want for my life. And I have permission. I have a right to choose how I want my life to be.
All right, Julia, welcome to the show. You and I was like, I can tell right away we're going to be fast friends. Okay?
Do you live here?
No, New York is my absolute favorite city in the entire world. I take my daughter there every year. I used to live there. But now I live right in the city, right near Union Square.
I'm Tribeca.
Oh my God. Okay, yes. So New York is my happy place, but I'm in Atlanta now. I'm
I lived in Atlanta for 8 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. Where'd you live?
Yes.
Where'd you live?
Well, I live with the religious community in Toco Hills.
Oh my God, I live right by there. The
Orthodox.
Oh my
the
God.
whole Orthodox community there. That's where I live.
You were a part of that.
Yeah. I was a high school teacher there.
Oh my God, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that you had, I think, a show on, was it on Bravo about like your
Netflix. My Unorthodox life on Netflix.
About that. Oh my God.
The show really is about my present. My book is about my past. So my book Brazen kind of tells the story. You won't know about Atlanta from my TV show. You'll only know about it from the book.
Oh my God.
The show is like my present defined by my past. The book is my past, the story.
Well, I need to get that book just because I'm so fascinated by that community, because I literally live in Morningside, which is right adjacent to Toco Hills, like Virginia Highlands area.
And it's funny, all the rabbis live, because, it was owned by the Bramble family. And the streets are Merry Christmas, Jody Bramble. 80% of the rabbis live on Christmas Lane.
I have to read the book just because I'm fascinated. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. We have so much to talk about. And one of the things we were talking about right before we hit record, I was like, okay, Julia, I was so excited to get you on the show because not just with the incredible work that you're doing with your new company, with Body is your company.
Body by Julia Haart.
Yeah. Body by Julia Haart.
We do have a product called Power Bomb.
Yes,
so you are totally on the money.
Yes. But just love how you're empowering women. But I was also commenting to you saying that a lot of my women listening to this show are divorced women. And so we got a good laugh out of that because we're
definitely. I've got things to say, people.
Well, I would love to kick it off though and just ask one lesson from your journey in the fashion industry that you believe that every woman should apply to her personal or maybe her professional life.
When I first started in the industry, I literally come from nowhere. 2 years after walking out of my community, I'm the creative director of La Perla, and walk into this fashion industry and I don't understand it because it's for women, but it's not for women.
Yeah.
Jackets weren't movable. Shoes were torturously uncomfortable. All day long, you're sitting there wishing you could unsnap your bra. Fashion was not comfortable. There was no such thing as athleisure yet. There was none of that. And I was like, this is ridiculous. We have a hotel on the moon, but we can't comfortable clothing for women. We're still subscribing to this suffer for beauty bullshit.
Yeah.
This is outrageous. So I started creating products that were both luxury and comfort. And this very, very powerful, I'm not going to say a name because I actually have tremendous respect for this person, but this very, very powerful magazine editor calls me and says, Julia, I really admire your work. I think you have tremendous talent. So I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Comfort is a dirty word in the fashion industry. Women suffer for beauty. And I said, well, they shouldn't. I'm going to make sure that comfort is something that women expect as a given, not that they have to literally feel that they have to create pain and torture for themselves just to feel confident. That's insane. And a year goes by and the same editor calls me and says, look, you did it. Comfort's not a dirty word anymore. My piece of advice is, don't listen to what people tell you is done or the way it's done or this is the status quo. Nobody created anything of value by following the status quo. It's all the spaces in between that have the magic. So if something doesn't make sense to you, it's probably because it's senseless and it needs to be changed. And if you have a better way of doing it, do not listen to the, yes, but that's not how it's done. Fuck that.
God, I love that, just that confidence and that trailblazer mindset. If you had to define confidence in a single word, what would it be and why?
Faith, because in the end, our lives are what we create of them. And to me, confidence is faith in yourself.
Betting on yourself. And what I really want to highlight, and I know you agree with this, is this, and it has nothing to do with how you look on the outside.
Here's the thing. It shouldn't have anything to do. But the problem is we can't ignore human nature. Even though it shouldn't,
Mm.
When women look in the mirror and feel good about themselves, when they feel beautiful or attractive or elegant or strong, whatever it is that they're looking for, they gain confidence.
Mm.
When you look good, you feel good. It's annoying as F. Like, I wish it wasn't like that. But you know, when you have those mornings when you look in the mirror and you're like, well, damn, my
Yeah.
skin looks great. Or you put something on and you look at yourself and you feel regal or elegant or strong. That's your armor. And that's
Yeah.
okay because we're human. Shit that shouldn't matter, it kind of does.
That, but I'm curious, what do you personally then do to maintain your confidence on the days or even the seasons in your life, maybe where you don't feel you look your best and what's on the inside isn't matching on the outside?
You know, this whole divorce thing got me on this massive introspective journey to figure out how I could have brought this into existence in my life after
Mm.
everything I'd been through. And it's not easy building $1 billion business.
Right.
Approvable, quantifiable, thousands of documents, records, $1 billion business. Having it stolen away like this without any proof, without any documents, just because it was three guys against one woman, it was extraordinarily painful. And I
Mm.
had to figure out how I manifested this into my life. And so I went on this massive deep dive journey into figuring myself out. And I came across this person named Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've been to
Yeah.
3 of those retreats. What it teaches you is we're taught that we can control our hands, our feet, our legs. We're also taught, but you can't control how you think. You can't control how you feel. That's a lie. You
Mm.
actually can. And then when you see the science of it, what I love about it is there's no just belief. There's
Mm.
no take this on faith. There's math. There's scientists. There's data. There's statistics. There's actual machines that can measure all of this stuff.
Mm.
And what I call it quantum life. This understanding that we have the ability to impact what happens in our life. We are not floating balls in this vast universe of confusion that some really mean teenager with lots of superpowers has, that when we don't talk to him, he punishes us. That's
Mm.
not God. The
Mhm.
universe is God.
Yeah.
And you feel it and you get there through confidence,
Mm.
through connection. And whenever I'm feeling down or scared, I remind myself I'm not alone. I
Yeah.
am connected to every tree, to every blade of grass. I'm connected to this incredible power that we have inside of all of us. And every time I need reminding, I go back into my meditation and I remind myself.
I love that you really went on this like spiritual journey post divorce. That's actually exactly how I found Joe
Me
Dispenza
too.
5 years ago when I was navigating divorce. That's how I found Gabby Bernstein.
Wow.
That's how I met her. That's how I found Joe Dispenza. That's how I found Shaman Durek. Like everybody follow in that spiritual space. And much like you, I personally was trying to find, desperately searching for the purpose in my pain, trying to make sense of it. And I also, though, was trying to figure out if it was something that I manifested. And I'm curious for you, did you get to a point where you did take ownership that you had manifested it? Did you feel
100%. I realized, you know, when you get used to something, even if what the something is, it's super insane and crazy, it becomes your normal.
sort of, what do they call that with the Stockholm syndrome? Is
Yeah,
that
like
right?
stop from the day I walked out the door until the day I started really understanding Dr. Joe. Every day, without a single exception, I would wake up every single morning like I was having a heart attack, covered in sweat for
Mm.
11 years.
Oh my
It
God.
was just the way I woke up. I woke up in the middle of a panic attack every single morning. And what was my big fear? That some guy was going to come and take everything away. And that's exactly what happened.
For somebody who's listening to this, okay, but how do you make the connection? That was your fear that you had, that some man was going to come and
Yeah,
take
and I put
everything
so much
away.
energy into my fear that I made it a reality. What we've been taught is this Newtonian version of existence where the apple falls always at the same pace, hits the ground in the same place. But then Einstein comes around and says, no, theory of relativity. It's what you focus on. It's what you put attention to that you energize, and you can actually transform and change that energy by your attention. Then quantum physics comes around and says, hey, all that protein in your body, it's all energy and you're connected to energy. Now, look, we can put these, I don't recall what the machine is called, into the room and measure the changes of energy while you're meditating. We can attach something to your brain, an EEG machine, and measure the brain waves of how your brain goes into coherence and out of panic. It's all quantifiable. It's provable. And our whole life, we're taught that the way to connect to God is through guilt, through
Mm.
fear, through shame, through lack. And this is the diametric opposite. This is saying, if you want good in your life, focus on good. If you put energy on bad things are going to happen. Put energy on good things. Stop being afraid. Thank God I've stopped waking up in a panic. I wake up with a big smile on my face now every day, which is so much nicer. And
Yes.
such a better way to wake up. There are still moments when I feel fear, when I feel that this man who has really done so much wrong and his co-conspirators who really think that if true justice were done, they would be sitting in a jail cell. I mean, what they did and will continue to prove is truly, at the very least, illegal, if not actually criminal. And there's moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, what if he gets away with it? Oh my gosh, what if I'm not strong enough? Oh my gosh, you get the fear, right? That fear and that tightness in your chest. And again, I go into my meditation and I remind myself, what do I want to put energy on? I don't want to put energy on anything but my winning. And I'm going to keep putting energy on my winning until I am winning.
Yes.
And I started with, I won my appeal. There's 2 warrants out for his arrest. He comes into this country. He's literally arrested on site. He can't appeal it. He has to spend 20 days in jail. Big things started to happen when I started focusing on the positive and reminding myself that truth and love, there's no way around it. It trumps hate and lie. It just has to.
I'm curious for you, because I know for me, I went through that period when I was really trying to find, like the pain and the purpose and how did I manifest this? Really, for me, I wasn't asking the question, how did I manifest it? I was asking the question, how did I allow it? And I think similar thing. So I had to go through a process of really forgiving myself because there was a lot of, what did that look like for you?
Because, I've been taught my whole life that happiness is an affront to God. When I told my mother when I was 20 years old and pregnant, or actually it was 21 because I just had Batsheva, and I told her I'm not happy. She said, where in the Torah does it say you have to be happy? In Judaism, you don't ever actually celebrate anything with pure joy. You always have to remember something sad. At a wedding, the happiest day of the year, you break a glass, remind yourself about the destruction of the temple. You're not allowed pure joy. There's always got to be sadness, trauma, guilt attached to it. My whole life, I had been taught that wanting to be successful, wanting to have financial independence, wanting to have a voice, wanting to prove my worth to the world were all affronts to God. And I had to look inside my body and say, those are lies. It's not true. It's a lie. And I have to remind myself of that every day. Every day I have to remind myself, it's a lie. The universe wants me to be happy. The universe wants all of us to be happy.
There were a few that were really, Joe Dispenza's was Supernatural. Was that the book?
You should, if you're interested in this, I
do his retreats.
Could not recommend, do a retreat. It's such a game changer because there's all these doctors and professors and you see this, you can watch your brain waves. It's very different than the book. The book is like the general concept. The retreats are literally ways to get your body to secrete psilocybin and DMT. Secrete it, not take anything. Your own pineal gland, because they're derivatives of melatonin. Crazy things that you would never believe your body could do. I mean, there's some things I can't talk about. It's wild, the things you learn how to control parts of your body. Basically, I call it self-mastery and quantum living.
You've been talking a lot about starting over, and I'm just curious, you've obviously had multiple times in your life where you've had to start over big. What is one piece of advice that you would give to the woman starting over, whether or not she's starting over in love, starting over in her career, particularly in midlife, right? Or even like a personal, what would you tell her?
When I left my extremist community, my son Shlomo, who was still religious, he had a lot of questions. And one of them that he asked me was, but you don't claim to have all the answers. Isn't that bad? In our world, they say they have all the answers. How can you live a life where you don't know things? And I told him, that's actually life. If you don't have the answers, you're going to ask the question. You're going to change and grow and create and do things that you never thought possible. Not knowing the unknown, that's life. That's actually living. That's where the magic is. That's where everything happens. And that's what I would tell a woman starting over. You're about to embark on actual living. You get to start a new adventure. Not knowing the answers is the best part.
I love what you said, and I think that's such a killer reframe for women, especially coming out of divorce who are just faced with the unknown. Use the fear of the unknown as your superpower. This is your opportunity. You said to ask the questions, to reevaluate. This is where I always say, girl, if you let it, this setback can be your comeback. If you lean in and ask the question.
Yeah. When my kids were younger, they were obsessed with zoos, and I was so uncomfortable in zoos because I don't like anything caged. Freedom to me is like my whole thing. So it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. So when I found there was this zoo in San Diego, they basically recreate the natural habitats of the animals. So they're not in cages, they're roaming around. It's much more open and free. This is a zoo I can take my kids.
Great.
So you're in this truck thing. We get to this habitat, and the tour guide says, this animal, it's this African elk, it can jump higher than any other animal in the animal kingdom. Find the fence that's keeping it in this enclosure. We look around, no gate, no fence. And if this animal can jump so high, how
Yeah.
are they staying inside?
Yeah.
We give up. And the guy directs our attention to the corners of the enclosure had these really long telephone poles. Imagine super tall, super giant, thin telephone poles. Connecting these four telephone poles was a half C pipe. So imagine like a round pipe that you cut in half. So it looked like this, like a C. And it was a long half C pipe that connected all these four telephone poles. The animal, before it jumps, it goes up to the edge of something, looks up to calculate the distance, and then jumps. These animals, when they got to the edge of the enclosure, they looked up, saw this rounded thing, and thought there was a ceiling. So they never jumped.
Oh
They
my
could
God.
walk through. There
Yeah.
is no fence. But they look up and they see a ceiling that does not exist. And that's us women. We look up, we see a ceiling that exists in here. We could walk right through, and we never try to jump.
This idea of betting on ourselves and really taking a chance on ourselves is scary as hell for a lot of women. What throughout your life and having to make multiple decisions where you're betting on yourself, what do you think gave you the courage to bet on yourself? Because some women, I think, tell themselves the story. That's easy for her because she's confident or she's beautiful or she's wired. I'm just not built like that. What do you say to that woman?
I'm going to be honest. It was life or death for me. It was succeed or die. I was so angry and in so much pain for everything that had been stolen from me. 42 years of my life where I couldn't have a career or a voice. I mean, look what I've done in 11 years. So I was so angry. And that to me, couldn't take it anymore. I was literally starving myself to death. And it was literally succeed or die.
And I think that in those moments, you have no other choice.
Again, with this fight, it's taken me 3 years for the world to wake up and realize that I was the wronged party and that these guys are fraudsters and crooks. 3 years of being called a liar and a thief and a con artist. You cannot imagine how surreal it feels like to have done all the work, build something of value, and then have the guys who stole everything from you get patted on the back. And I don't know how many people, I'm sure there are many others who could have fought I have, but it was not an easy thing to do. Let's just put it that way. It never occurred to me not to. It was, again, life or death. There's truth and there's lies. I will never stop until every dark deed these men have done comes into the light, until they truly face justice, because I have no choice. It's life or death to me.
That's a question. I think even if somebody is not facing necessarily extreme circumstances where it is life or death, I think a question I think anybody who's contemplating making change or doing something different is, what's the alternative? So you can stay stuck or you can do the thing. And what is the alternative of living your life the way you're living it now? I think that's what really catapults people into change, when their pain becomes greater than their fear.
Impeccably stated. It's when your pain becomes greater than your fear that you jump into the unknown. That was exquisitely stated.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I spent a lot of years thinking through that statement for me and my own experience. I get asked a lot too. What catapulted you into building an entirely new life at the age of 40 and starting over? I kind of just got to the point where I just realized that to stay stuck was really to deny myself, to deny what I wanted for my life. And for me, what that looked like was, yes, leaving my marriage, which was not an easy thing to do. Obviously, your courage and what you've been through is just so inspiring. But I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about just the work you are doing with your company at Body by Julia Haart. Because part of your mission and just your overarching theme of empowering women, which as we talked about, that fires me the hell up. It's really also helping women, as we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show, a little bit about just feeling good in your body. And I know that a lot of women really feel disconnected from their bodies during transitions, divorce, or let's talk about perimenopause.
I'm always freezing cold. My temperature is like 10 degrees lower than everyone else. So I'm comfortable in like 88-degree weather. When everyone else is dying and sweating, that's when I'm not cold. After COVID, I got something called cold urticaria. which used to be a
Oh.
very rare condition, but apparently it's kind of prevalent with long COVID people because, I got OG COVID. I'm
Same.
actually allergic to the cold.
Oh.
The veins in my leg bleed. I get 104 fever. I have an allergic reaction to the cold. My kids hate being in the car with me because it's on 89 degrees with the heat blasting, and it annoys everybody. Kind of like when you are in perimenopause, either you have hot flashes or your temperature just rises. Well, my temperature just rose 10 degrees. So now I'm everyone else's temperature. It's amazing. I'm not cold all the time. I love it. My kids are not annoyed to come into the car with me. But seriously, I'm always cold. And now I'm not always cold. Like I can go into a restaurant without wearing a coat and having a blanket on my legs. Like I had a real severe reaction to cold. So being 10 degrees hotter for me has been an amazing blessing.
No, I actually can identify with that because I have Raynaud's syndrome, which is really painful in
Oh,
my hands
yes.
and my
Oh, that's
feet.
awesome.
Actually, being a little bit hotter might not be a
I
bad
mean,
thing.
I'm telling you, for me, like, literally, and my kids are like, this is wonderful. We love you on perimenopause. We could put the car at 68 degrees. We're not sitting in the kitchen in an undershirt because we're all dying of heat. Because literally, I would keep my whole house at like 85 and everyone else was dying. I'm
Yeah.
fine at like 70.
Good. You're
It's
good.
amazing.
Well, for the rest of us who are suffering in perimenopause and also just feeling disconnected from their bodies, I'm curious with your experience in the fashion world, which obviously brings on some self-expression. How can fashion, what we're wearing, become a tool for really starting to reclaim our confidence? How can we use fashion and the way that we just present ourselves as a way to kind of build back our confidence, especially when you're not feeling like you're in your body, especially when you feel like your body's been hijacked?
Well, I think that's kind of the concept of Body by Julia Hart. I mean, it's, as you said, my thing has always been freedom for women in every direction. And we can't ignore that so many women walk around in pain because their shoes hurt or their clothes hurt or they're being forced to wear multiple layers. I don't know a single woman who doesn't come home with the first thing she does is unhook her bra.
1,000%.
Because
Half the
it's
time I don't even wear a bra anymore.
exactly, it's not comfortable. We
So,
shouldn't have to
yeah.
suffer. It's ridiculous. I think this is the first time in history. Don't quote me. I don't know anyone else who's done this. So basically, my first collection was shapewear that was beautiful, meaning we changed the way you color clothing so that shapewear wasn't just beige, white, and black. It was colors and patterns. It looked sexy, so you wouldn't be uncomfortable and embarrassed when some other person was undressing you. Bridget Jones's Diary. No one wants to be caught dead in granny panties. My
Sure.
shapewear does not look like granny panties. You could stretch it from here to eternity. The pattern didn't move. The color didn't budge, which is the reason why shapewear is always beige, white, and black, because something so heavily elasticated, when you stretch it, you get those nasty lines, that
Oh,
broken
yeah.
pattern. Mine didn't do that because we changed the way we color things. So you could stretch it, no lines, no broken pattern. It didn't budge. That was my first collection. And we did incredibly well. We almost sold out and everything. But I got a lot of comments that I took very, very seriously. And women told me, number one, because the price point was between like $79 and $219. People were saying to me, Julia, we can't afford it. We really love this. We want to wear it. Is there any way you can make it less expensive? That was one thing. And the second thing, and I can't believe I didn't think of this myself, so thank you, ladies. Well, if you can color shapewear and it looks like clothing, why can't you make clothing that has the shapewear built inside of it? So we don't have to wear clothes and shapewear. So that's what we went and did. I think it's the first of its kind. It's my second collection. So it'll come to stores. It's going to be in Macy's. It's going to be in the UK. It's going to be in Canada, hopefully in Mexico. And it's also going to be on our website at the end of February. And it'll be in stores at the end of March.
Tell me about
Okay.
this.
So we've got tank tops and t-shirts, bodysuits, staple clothing where it looks like a regular shirt, except the shapewear is built in because again, you can't tell because of my coloring thing. You have no idea. We've actually put in the compression inside the t-shirt, inside the tank top, and it gets better. Once someone suggested that, I was like, well, wait a minute. What if I put the bra inside the shirt too? And I had done this. I was the first person to ever do that when I was creative director of La Perla. I put bra cups into clothing and sold clothing not only by dress size, but by cup size. So you could buy a size 8 and a 38 double D or a size 8 and a 8 cup bra because we're not just our size, we're also our cup size. The way you fit into a sweater or a jacket is very different depending on your cleavage. So I had done it something similar before, but this was completely different because now you have full bras. There's not a single, like Chanel, Dior, all those things, they make bralettes, small, medium, large. They don't do cup sizes. It's too complicated. It's not like a mathematical equation. It's each one has to be made differently. So our tank tops and our t-shirts have your bra built inside and your shapewear built inside into one garment, one piece.
Oh, this is going to change the game. Yeah.
It's a game
It's a
changer.
game changer.
And
Yeah.
because we're using the structure of clothing to hold the bra in place, there's no straps. There's no pain. You have no idea. Like every time we've given it, I went on Good Morning with Marcy, is it CBS, I think?
Yeah.
And we brought a sample and she said, oh, I kind of like to try this. She puts it on. And she's like, can I keep it? Like, she didn't want to take it off. And we've actually become really good friends because she just loved the product. It's so crazy comfortable. You look so good. And we have different gradations of shaping. So some of them are super light, just if you want to make sure everything's held in place, to things where, it's more party and you want to be more sucked in and glamorous, but so freaking comfortable. You're not going to want to take it off. And in May, we are releasing swimwear, shapewear in bra cup sizes. Because since if I can color the shapewear, I can make it out of any material and I just put in that elasticated shapewear part of it, but it looks like a bathing suit. It feels like a bathing suit, except it'll be like, imagine these little booty shorts, like think Halle Berry, James Bond situation, but they cover your behind, they push your butt up. They're shapewear, but it's a bikini. And you can have a tankini where it sucks in your stomach, pulls everything in, keeps your breasts in perfect place because it's going to have bra sizes too. And it just looks like a normal bathing suit, except it's actually shapewear. It keeps everything in place. Plus, we have the largest size range, as far as I know. We go to XXXL. And oof, I hope I'm not saying this wrong. I think it's either an F or a G bra. And then I spent 7 months longer than I could have on production to find ways to work with different companies so that we could bring the price down. Now the price points are from $35 to $79. I cut them literally. It took me 6 to 7 months to figure it out, but I cut them literally in half. So now you can buy for $45 a bra with a t-shirt and shapewear all in one outfit. So freaking comfortable. You're going to love it. I'm going to make women confident by the pool. No more covering and hiding.
That is what I love about this. What I love, and we're talking what was coming up for me is, God, I was just thinking about with trailblazers such as yourself and innovators, how far women's fashion has really come, because like you said, it's not even just the comfort piece and like really kind of drawing a line in the sand. We as women, we don't have to sacrifice our comfort, but also I just love this idea, really creating this confidence in what you're putting on your body. One of the reasons why I always shy away from shapewear is just because if I'm going out on a date and then I'm wearing like the Spanx, it's a really hot, if it's a hot date and I want to get naked, then guess what? I don't want to take that off with some funky shapewear underneath. I absolutely love that.
This is my shapewear. This was from the first collection, not the new one.
Oh my God. Yeah, that does not look like regular.
You would not feel uncomfortable taking that off.
No, absolutely
That was the whole idea. Eradicate discomfort from women. Stop making them feel bad about themselves. Enough.
You are making OG women liberators very, very proud, Julia. For just a serious.
Wait till my new vibrator comes.
I love that. Wait, I just need to know what makes the vibrator special. What am I missing?
Oh, it's seriously, if all the women, I had this dream after we perfected it and everything, I'd walk out in the street and there's just no women outside because they're all so busy using it. Where's all the women? Where are all the women? Basically, there's two kinds of vibrators in the market. There's the ones that look like, those giant, appendages.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how graphic I'm allowed to be on here. They're giant penises, right? Attached to the little, and they're huge and they're embarrassing and they're pretty ugly and no one wants to wander around with them. But they're very powerful, right? They have they've got 4 AA batteries. So just like a light or anything else, the more power it has, the more powerful it is. Then you have these little super cute tchotchke ones that are this big, that look sexy, that you could throw in your handbag, that if anyone catches with you, like scratching, I mean, it's a 1 or 2 AAA batteries. Think of a flashlight with 2 AAA batteries. There is just no power in that at all. And the ones that are rechargeable that you have to plug in is even worse because, again, just like your battery light would get lower and lower, this little thing that doesn't have much power to begin with, as it fades, it just gets less. It's just terrible. So I've created a small, crazy ass powerful vibrator that has the power of one of those big ones, but in a tiny little. It is insanely powerful. There's nothing that powerful unless you get something this big.
I
But in
mean,
something this big, it's a mind blower. I'm just going to say. And then you want
listen,
to hear the name?
yeah,
You ready?
what we got?
The joystick.
Well, let me tell you what. I listen, I can already tell I'm in good company here because I am a daily masturbator. Like I talk about this all the time on the show. I'm like, when women are always like, oh, what are some of your like daily habits that you think for self-care? I'm like at the top of the list every single day,
Every day.
masturbation every day. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Like every day when I get out of the shower, I have the same like routine. Okay. I get ready in the morning. I get out of the shower. Sometimes it's twice in one day. And I got to tell you, like it has been in my 46 in February. And I think for me, it's been such a game changer for me. Just number one, really dedicating time to myself to feel good in my body. Also, it's made me a better partner just with my partner because I'm able to say now more like what I like, what I don't
Do
like.
this. How can someone
do
pleasure you if you don't know how to pleasure yourself?
I am definitely a believer in making it a daily habit for sure.
I do it every night. I'm not a morning person. I do it in the nighttime, but I do it every single night. And I could literally watch paint peel. You turn that thing on and just magic happens. I could be watching a commercial about tire usage. It would still happen. It's amazing.
I'm like, okay, so
I
I gotta
can't
get the
wait
vibrant
for it to come out. Yeah, I will send it to you when we get it. Just make sure Brooke puts you on that list because I mean, seriously, I had a few samples. Unfortunately, I given out the only samples I have, and of course, no one's given them back to me. But people are, it's pretty wild. It's an experience.
I mean, again, what I love about what you're doing is everything you're creating, again, is based through this lens of how the hell do we empower women? Yes.
Empowering it is to know that you can give yourself more pleasure than any guy on the planet. Like you don't actually need anyone. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, I love men. I date very frequently. I'm a full believer in vive la difference. You know, I love the difference and all of that. But I also know it's not something I need. It's just something I want. And that's a very delightful difference, knowing that you are so self-sufficient that you can make yourself come 20 times if you want, if you have
the right apparatus. That's for damn
there you
sure.
go, if you have your joystick.
Well, I'm just so curious for you. There's a lot of women who are listening to you and just share all the incredible things you have done with just being an entrepreneur and being a mom. Like, how have you really balanced that with being a mom? What strategies have you used to really stay present and connected with your kids? Because I'm sure you're busy as hell. I mean, with all the things you have going on, what have you put into place to really be mindful and intentional with being present and connected with your kids as you're doing all the things you're doing?
Yeah. My children and I are incredibly close. I mean, they're my best friends on the planet. Could never have gone through anything literally without them. Impossible. So we're crazy close. Like we're really Miriam and Shlomo, who live here in New York. We have basically one meal a day together every day. Cheva, who's in Miami, we talk on the phone every single day. Every company I have, they're part of it. So I make them part of my work. I involve them in all my projects and everything that I do. Shlomo, for example, is the COO of all my companies. He's the CEO of the vibrator brand, by the way.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know, Miriam does a lot of tech stuff for me, but Cheva does a lot of the marketing. We work together as a cohesive unit. We share the same goal. We have the same dream and we love each other. They're just part of every part of my life.
And I love that idea of like figuring out ways. And I do think it gets a little bit easier as the kids get older to incorporate them into your life,
exactly.
right?
If they were younger, I would be having a much harder time, no doubt.
But I still think that there are ways to, even as a single mom, to incorporate your kids in the thing that you're doing as far as your business, your personal life, all that.
Yeah. Family businesses are amazing because supposedly they're people you can trust. I mean, what my kids have shown, how many times they've proven just truly unconditional love. When the shit hit the fan in my life, they were just there every imaginable way. Shlomo was he got a full ride, a scholarship to some fancy college law school in Washington, and he refused to go. He left his apartment and moved in here. He's like, I'm not leaving until you win, and I know you're okay. Who does that? I have so much respect and admiration for them. And I always say, being spoiled isn't about what you have. Being spoiled is thinking it's coming to you. And they don't think anything is coming to them. We work for a living in this family.
I think that's a powerful piece of advice or like a mindset to instill in your kids. Cause I know I worry about that with my kids. They have a lot of things that I didn't have when I was a kid. And I don't want to raise spoiled brats. I want them to know that we work for our money. That's what we do here. And it's not handed to you. If someone's listening here and who feels really stuck in their life, feels stuck whether that's in love or career or just maybe even like God's self-expression, what's the first step that they can take to start feeling empowered again?
Acknowledge and give themselves permission to say, I'm not happy. You first got to own it. You have to say, this is not what I want for my life. And I have permission. I have a right to choose how I want my life to be. I'm not okay with my life. And that makes me okay. There's nothing wrong with me. It's I want different in my life. And you have to acknowledge, you got to own it first. That was a huge breakthrough for me. The minute I said, no, it's not me. It's these laws. It's this system that I'm living in. Because we always think it's us. We always blame ourselves. Stop blaming yourself.
I love, God, the acknowledgement and the permission. So, so huge. I love that. Julia, thank you for just being, I love your candidness. I love your willing to just be an open book. I love the no filter. You're my kind of girl. Thank you for just being the light for so many women and just the work that you're doing. And thanks for spending some time. Thanks for spending some time for us today.
It was really great to hang out with you. Let me know when you come to New York. Ask Brittany for my phone number and let me know when you come to New York. We do dinner.
I would love that.